Hello students, myself Miss Shah from Kankoli College, Kankoli. I am your biology teacher. Today is the first lecture and we'll start with the first chapter of biology, that is living world. And from that living world, the first point is the basic principles of life. Now students, you know that the living world in which we live is wonderful. We find living organisms in all types of habitats like cold mountains, forest, oceans, freshwater lakes, deserts, and even hot springs. The diversity is amazing. Life exists everywhere on earth. The question arises, what is life? What is the purpose of life? Now, what is life is a natural question. But what is the purpose of life? Now, this question will arise only by a biology student. That is, it is a philosophical question. So, every biological student will question what is the purpose of life. So, let us learn what is life or living. Students, planet Earth is made up of abiotic and biotic components. You know that. The biotic components are obviously the living beings present around us. This you have studied in the previous classes. The question is, why do we call them living and how do they differ from non-living? Right? This question arises in every individual, that what is the difference between living and non-living? How we differ them as living and non-living? So we'll see the answer for this. So for finding that answer, you should study first the basic principles of life. Now, what are the basic principles of life? First is the metabolism. Second is growth and development. Third is reproduction. Fourth is aging. Fifth is death. And the most important thing is response to stimuli. So these are the 6 basic principles of life, and by studying this we can differ living organisms and non-living organisms. First is the metabolism. What is metabolism? Now you can see the diagram here, that is the picture. Now this picture shows what the living being once produced or born, it has to survive. Now, whichever living organism is present on earth, they have taken birth, and as they have taken birth, they are born, they have to survive. Now, for surviving in the habitat or in the surrounding, they have to eat something, they have to engulf something to live in that habitat or to survive in that habitat or to sustain in that habitat. So to survive in that habitat, we eat something. Every organism, every living organism eats something. Whatever we eat, that is metabolized in our body. Now what is metabolism? Metabolism is the sum total of all the chemical reactions taking place in the cell or body. That is called as the metabolism. So what is metabolism? It is the sum total of all the chemical reactions. I am saying all the chemical reactions which are taking place in a body, not only one or two chemical reactions. All the chemical reactions which are taking place in the cell or body, that is called as the metabolism. And this metabolism takes place, that is by two methods, that is catabolism and anabolism. Now the figure shows here that the oxygen we take in and we exit, that is the carbon dioxide. Also we drink water, we sweat, and also we breathe, and also we when we drink water, we uh, that is we excrete the urine by the urination process. Then we whatever we eat the dry food, that dry food is excreted as the feces, that is the excretory matter, that is the excreta, we call it as the excreta. Then the chemical energy which we intake, that chemical energy is converted into heat, and also that energy is utilized for other metabolic activities. So in this way, whatever we take in the body, it is metabolized, and the metabolism results in different things. So for survival, it needs energy and many chemical molecules. For energy, it has to perform metabolism. If we want energy in the body to do some activities, we should have energy. So for energy, it has to perform मेटाबॉलिझम. सो आपल्या बॉडीमध्ये ते मेटाबॉलिझम प्रोसेस झाली पाहिजे. आपल्याला जर एनर्जी हवी असेल तर मेटाबॉलिझम आपल्या बॉडीमध्ये झालं पाहिजे. Metabolism is breaking of molecules and making of new molecules. It is the sum total of two things, that is catabolism and anabolism. Catabolism means what? Breaking of molecules, and anabolism means what? Making of new molecules. So that is metabolism. So you can see here the diagram which shows below, that is larger molecules. By the catabolism process, it is broken down into smaller molecules and energy is released. And also vice versa, that is by using energy, smaller molecules by anabolism process, that is by forming the new molecules, they form larger molecules. So there is a vice versa process, that is from larger molecules smaller molecules are formed by using by the process of catabolism, and by anabolism smaller molecules are formed into larger molecules by using energy. So that is metabolism process. Then second basic principle of life is growth and development. From birth onwards, organisms show tendency of growth and development. You know that growth is basic feature of life. It is exhibited by all living organisms. This growth is a well organized process, or we can say all well orchestrated process in the life. All living organisms grow. Now what is growth? How does this growth occurs in an individual? Growth of living organisms, it increases in mass and increase in number of individuals. These two are the twin characteristics of growth. Twin characteristics means what? These two characters, that is increase in mass and increase in number of individuals. So increase in number of individuals. These are the twin characteristics which defines growth. Now growth, you might have observed sand mounds, mountains, boulders, they grow. This growth is not from within, and hence these are not living beings. Means what? They show growth. Mountains, sand mounds, boulders, they also show growth. But this growth is not intrinsic. There are two types of growth: intrinsic growth and extrinsic growth. So intrinsic growth which occurs in the body, that is by increasing the mass and also by increasing the number of that is the cells. But this, the growth which occurs in sand dunes or mountains or boulders, it is not intrinsic, it is extrinsic growth. So that is not the growth is not the defining character of living organisms. That means growth occurs in living as well as non-living, but in living organisms intrinsic growth occurs, and in non-living extrinsic growth occurs. So this is not the defining character of living organisms. growth, it is of three types. We have a classification of growth here. Now growth, first, it is classified into two things, that is indeterminate and determinate. Now what is indeterminate? That is the growth of an organism, growth of the that is the individual. Now for example, in plants there is unlimited growth. Unlimited growth means what? It occurs from everywhere, that is stem grows, roots grows, branches grows. So it is an unlimited growth, and this growth, that is indeterminate growth, which occurs in plant, it is whole it occurs in the whole lifetime till their death. Then second thing is determinate growth, that is limited, which occurs in animals. Animals does not grow throughout their lifetime. There is a limited growth, and after some period of time they stop growing. So that is the determinate growth. Then second classification is localized and diffused. Now localized and diffused means what? In plants localized growth occurs, and animals diffused growth occurs. Now what is localized? In plants there are two types of cells, that is permanent cells and meristematic cells. Now the plants, in plants there are some points, there are some locations in plants in which the meristematic cells are present, and where the meristematic cells are localized or positioned, there only the growth takes place. त्या पॉईंटवरतीच ग्रोथ होणार प्लांट्समध्ये. म्हणजेच काय, प्लांट्समध्ये ज्या पार्टमध्ये मेरिस्टेमॅटिक सेल्स असतील त्याच पार्ट्समध्ये ग्रोथ होते. So that is, in plants localized growth occurs, and in animals diffused growth occurs. Diffused growth means what? It occurs from every part. Every part it that is the growth occurs simultaneously. सगळे पार्ट्स एकाच वेळी ग्रोथ दाखवतात. म्हणजे एक दॅट इज हार्ट, एक हार्ट आधी ग्रोथ दाखवत नाही, किंवा लंग्स नंतर ग्रोथ दाखवत नाही. सगळे ऑर्गन्स जे आहेत बॉडीमध्ये ॲनिमल्सच्या, ते सगळे एकाच वेळी ग्रोथ आपापली करत असतात. सो इट इज अ डिफ्युज्ड ग्रोथ. Then the third type of classification of growth is, that is intrinsic growth and extrinsic growth. As I have told you earlier that in living organisms intrinsic growth occurs, that means internal growth occurs, and in non-living organisms extrinsic, or we can say external growth occurs. आता बेंच असतो किंवा टेबल असेल त्याच्यावरती सुद्धा ग्रोथ होते, दॅट इज ऑफ डस्ट पार्टिकल्स त्याच्यावरती जमा होतात. ती पण एक ग्रोथ आहे, पण ती काय आहे? एक्सटर्नल और एक्सट्रिन्सिक ग्रोथ त्याला म्हणतात, विच ऑकर्स इन नॉन लिव्हिंग. बेंच हा एक नॉन लिव्हिंग आहे, नॉन लिव्हिंग थिंग, त्याच्यावरती पण ग्रोथ होते, पण एक्सट्रिन्सिक ग्रोथ होते. सो ग्रोथ इज नॉट अ डिफायनिंग कॅरेक्टर. So I hope you have understood the two that is the basic principles of life. In the next lecture we'll see the rest of the basic principles of life. Students, please refer your textbooks for your reference of video lectures. Thank you.